what if I told you that mixing your unreasonable expectation with New Age spirituality and a little bit of religion can actually trigger spiritual psychosis? The biggest fear that a lot of business owners are facing right now is that their unreasonable expectation, mix that with a large effort that they're putting on that unreasonable expectation, would fail. And when it does, they call it a divine timing. Or they think they need to jump into another dimension or timeline. They start over-spiritualize their experience. Now, what is the difference when you are in divine flow, in divine alignment, in divine assignment, and spiritual psychosis? What is the difference when you hear the voice of God, when the spirit communicates with you, and spiritual psychosis? The difference is that when you are in divine communication, when you are on the divine journey, you have better control. You can actually stop it, and you don't abdicate your agency to your spiritual experiences. You take them into consideration, but you don't abdicate yourself in spiritual psychosis. When you have so much expectation from God, spirit, entity, universe, that everything is a sign, and the mix of the physical reality and your delusion, your psychosis or psychosis-like state actually mixing together. Now, I'm a former clinical psychologist, and when something comes out of my mouth, such as psychosis, spiritual psychosis, I don't say very lightly, okay? Now, in DSM-5, we don't have the actual definition of spiritual psychosis. There are psychoses that are not elsewhere specified or infused by religion. It's actually a big study in psychiatry, and psychosis is a psychiatric disorder. And definitely, if you are going through severe mental health challenges such as psychosis, I would encourage you to seek help, medical help, professional help, because the difference between spiritual experiences, because I hear the voice of God. I talk to God like I talk to a human, and God responds through feelings, voice, thoughts, signs. But the one thing is that it's never overwhelming or overpowering. I can actually control it, and I actually have to bring myself into the certain state to commune with God. This is the communion with God. And God is not always communing with me, because God is not a genie. God is not my personal God, my personal spirit that I can just hey, God. I have a launch now. It's $10,000 offer. I need 10 people to sign up with me, because listen, I don't want to work with a lot of people. This launch, I'm making $100K. Now in 3 months, I'm going to run another launch for 10 people for $10K, and you best bring those people without sales goal. I feel like it is a desire that you put on my heart, and okay, let's do it. This is not how it works. This is the other way around. This is when God gives me the download, and I actually use discernment, what spirit actually communicates with me right now. Is it a spirit of God, or is it a spirit of the challenger, of Satan? In Kabbalah, Satan is a poser, and sometimes a poser brings us ideas that actually deviates us from our divine path. So now, My question for you: what if your unreasonable expectation, or expectation that you put on your business, expectation that you put on your life, expectation that you put on yourself is not actually the will of God? Because listen, if you read the Bible, if you read Torah, if you read any spiritual book, God doesn't always give you what you want. And in fact, God doesn't even always give his people, what he promised them. Moses, he was angry, and he did not follow God precisely. And instead of just waving the staff, he hit the rock. He hit the rock, and God did not say hit the rock. He was angry. And not just he was angry, he did not trust God, that God will bring water to people of Israel in the middle of the desert. It was Moses's unwillingness to surrender and trust God. Now, is it unreasonable expectation, or is it divine timing and divine guidance? It was divine timing. Because Moses knew that it was kind of crazy to expect water in the middle of the desert. But if God told you to wave your staff over the rock and command the rock, say the words to the rock to give water, if God told you so, then do it, no matter how ridiculous it sounds. But we often think that a simple way, a simple manifestation, just simple surrendering, just the fact that what we do, it is already enough. Our effort that we put in our business is already enough. We often think that we need to hit harder. And when we're hitting harder, then we tell the universe, we tell God, hey, I don't trust you as much, so I will do more. And often, if you read the Bible, certain prophets, they were facing with absolutely miserable, impossible, challenging way to actually communicate their message. One of the prophets says, "Hey, your wife will die, but you must not mourn." When Aaron's sons, were killed by the fire because they brought in incorrect fire before God. And again, those stories, those archetypes in the Bible, those are coded messages for us, right? But when it happened, God said, do not mourn, continue your service. And that was God's will. Because again, God is not a genie in the bottle for us, so we can just say, hey, give me that 7-figure business that I desire. Give me the clients, give me the team, give me. Now, prayer is an amazing tool to commune with God. You can ask God whatever you want. But when you're facing the challenges, now, 2 things. It's important to release the expectation, surrender to indeed God's calling and God's timing. And I do it in 3-step framework. I call it BPE. B for breath, P for prayer, E for embodiment. Now, whenever I am in a spiral, and I teach it, I taught it my therapy clients, my coaching clients. Whenever we're in heightened emotions, it's important to signal our nervous system, our body, our brain, that we are safe. Now, we can actually oxygenate brain through breath work. We can do box breathing. It is 4, inhale on 4, hold on 4, exhale on 4, hold on 4. Something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you're listening, I was showing box breathing exercises. You can do belly, chest, head, exhale. So you can just slow down your breathing and be mindful about your breathing, and just for 5-10 minutes. And when I'm breathing, I'm not just breathing and observing my body. It's normally how I slow myself down. I'm breathing, I'm slowing down my body. But then I learned this technique from Rav Doniel Katz, Jewish rabbi, ultra Orthodox rabbi, big a leader in Kabbalah, and he teaches Kabbalah and Kabbalistic meditations. And one of the techniques that he's teaching is actually invoke the feeling of love, the feeling of joy, the feeling of awe, the feeling of holiness, and start rotating them. It can be through a guided meditation, or you can guide yourself. Joy, awe, love, holiness. Joy, awe, love, holiness. And they rotate them around and around and around and around and around and around, and keep breathing. And then when you, in more regulated state, you can say a prayer. You can connect with the Creator and submit the Creator your request. Kabbalah teaches us, do not pray when you're sad. This is why I say it's really important to regulate our nervous system, to get emotions out of our head and out of our body, because our body can react on emotions in a certain, like muscle blocks, or like muscle movements, or like we might feel stiff because of our emotions. So releasing it through breath work, through meditation, and centering ourselves in love, joy, awe, and holiness first, and then submit the prayer to the Creator. This is where you improve your connection with God and your manifestation technique. And embodiment, when you see that vision, listen, I don't really know how to explain embodiment. It's not just imagine, it's not just pretend. I'm going to tell you an example how I did it in my life. So 12 years ago, when I wanted to move to another country from Moscow, Russia, I knew it wasn't for me. I didn't even speak English at a time. Like, can you imagine that? Like, nothing. I started like learning the language, and as I was learning the language, connecting with the community, and again, align intuitive action, right? Like, this is what we do when we're manifesting. I started walking in the streets of Moscow and feeling like I'm walking in New York. I will remember the scenes from the movies from New York, Chicago, LA, and I would literally, with whole my being, picture that I am in the US at that moment. 4 months later, I landed in Chicago, and 90 days after, my paperwork was granted. This is the power of embodiment. This is the power of walking in your purpose. And listen, we're talking about manifesting in your business, manifesting your desires. Do you know how hard it is to manifest, like, immigration journey, to move to, like, from Russia to America? I mean, building a business is a lot simpler. Listen, building a business is a lot simpler. And at the same time, I must tell you, it's harder. So if people would tell me, like, okay, Eugene, do you want to build your business, or do you want to redo your immigration story again? I would probably choose redo my immigration story again, because it's It's just a little bit easier than building a business, like full transparency. But if I could manifest that, and it's really, really challenging thing to manifest, like many people wait for years to manifest that. If I am in alignment with God's will for my life, if I am in alignment with my soul, and if I in a state of surrendering, and listen, one important thing, I had to surrender before it happened. I had to surrender. So right before it happened, right before I got my ticket to the United States, every single opportunity and bridge and path collapsed. And I was crying on the floor in my living room, in an apartment in Moscow region, in Moscow suburbs, thinking that I'm just doomed. And I felt I felt so stuck that there was no way forward. No way forward. Here I am in Russia. I don't have the money. I don't have the visa. A church who could help me to immigrate on a religious visa to the United States, open and affirming, said no. A person who I was talking to, and we were forming some sort of romantic relationship, was not the person who I thought he was. A not work opportunity was not an option for me at a time. So every single plan failed. But when every single plan failed, and I continued to embody my dream, my vision, and I kind of released it. I said, like, you know what? If it is the United States, it is the United States. If it is Canada, let it be Canada. If it is New Zealand, as long as they speak English. Listen, I do not, at this point, God, I do not care. I'm just walking in Manhattan. That feels like LA. That feels like Miami. That feels like Chicago. And it sounds like a market in Seattle, Pike Place Market, without craziness after COVID, of course. But that was my embodiment. And watch, that came to fruition. Now, let me know in the comments, what is your biggest dream that you're manifesting right now? Write it, say it into existence right now on this podcast episode. Or if you're listening to a podcast as a audio form, send me a DM. I would like to know, what is your desire? What are you embodying? What are you manifesting? What do you want to bring into fruition? Now, here's the thing. I created a playlist, 10 steps to wealth creation. I will put it somewhere in the show notes and in the cards on YouTube. This is like that was inspired by Sephiro, by Tree of Life, how the universe was created, and I created those videos purely out of this inspiration. So if you would like to bring more spirituality, more Kabbalah into your life, and when I say more Kabbalah, I say with a very humble heart. And Kabbalah, as I understand it, and I have a lot of ways to learn it and go. So I say it humbly. So watch the playlist. Now, if you've been looking for a mentor who will help you with the recalibration into your business, and it can be realignment with your messaging. Maybe you think that what you say, the resonance is not there, and the energy of resonance in Kabbalah, in Tree of Life, is hold. Aaron is representation of Hod. Aaron was the messenger for Moses. So if you need to incorporate the messaging into your business and working out with your messaging, or maybe it is working on your sales skills, consultative sales, understanding sales psychology, or maybe just realigning your business. Maybe like everything is working, but nothing is working in a way that it brings you joy. Because sometimes we climb the mountain and it's not the mountain that we want to climb. I invite you to book a recalibration session with me. And it's 90-minute session, working one-on-one, plus 30 days of integration through DMs, voice messages, emails, because you're going to have questions. After my 90-minute recalibration session, I guarantee you, if you do the work, you're going to have questions. And I don't want you to leave you high and dry after 90-minute session, after 90-minute high level hands-on work in consultation. I don't want to leave you high and dry and hanging. I want you to have a support for 30 days to implement it, so you can take the most aligned action in your business and in your life. Now, my question for you before we close: what is your highest, most aligned version of you, and what they manifest right now in their life, without putting any expectations, without putting any number? Where are you living right now as the highest and most aligned self? Share with me in the comments, in the DMs. Your conversation is always welcome. Thank you for listening and watching. Stay blessed, and I'll see you in the next video.